A very good morning and Drshtikon to all our viewers. This is Megha Ashar on behalf of Team Drshtikon, extending a warm welcome to all of you on the 25th webinar of Drshtikon Talks. We hope that you're taking all the measures to stay safe and healthy. At Drshtikon Talks, we bring to you eminent Bhartiya speakers and experts to share their knowledge and valuable experiences with us. For this, we conduct a live webinar of 1 hour or a conversation with experts of different fields to widen our knowledge base and increase awareness. As we complete 25 sessions of Drshtikon Talks, we take this opportunity to thank all of you for the continued patronage, and we hope to move ahead by imparting greater value to all those who attend our webinars. As we want the webinar to be conducted smoothly, we request you all to post your questions in the chat box. Our moderator will take up the questions after the speaker completes the talk. Any unanswered questions will be answered by mail on a later date. Also requesting you all to switch off your mics and cameras. Our speaker for today is Ms Tejal Ved. Requesting Archana Sampath to introduce our speaker to you. Over to you, Archana ji.
Hello, Namaste and Jai Shri Krishna. On behalf of Drshtikon, I'm honored and privileged to welcome our speaker for the day. She is a special educator with over 12 years of experience in working with special and mainstream school children, a specialist in child development, mental health intervention for school children, and special needs therapist. She's passionate about enhancing children's learning potential and confidence. A charming Aquarian holding various degrees to her credit. She has done her BSc specializing in child development, is a postgraduate in integrated education and counseling, and also has done her master's in child development. Has won a Braganza scholarship for her field work. Attended various training programs like behavior therapy, psychological assessments, and teaching in dyslexia. Has conducted workshops for students to overcome anxiety, creative thinking, and problem solving. Today, she is going to cover a topic beyond parenting. Looking forward to her talk, as all of us are parents, and I'm sure that we will be getting a lot of takeaways from this session today. So without much ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with a big smile our speaker for the 25th webinar of Drshtikon, Ms Tejal Ved. Over to you, Tejal Ved.
Thank you, Archana. That was a very kind introduction. Thank you, Prashant Bhai and Team Drshtikon for having me here on this platform. I'm really happy to be here with you today. And at the outset, I'd like to congratulate the entire Team Drshtikon for this wonderful initiative that they have taken up. Many, many congratulations to you, Team Drshtikon, for having completed a series of 25 interesting webinars on various topics. My topic for discussion today is on aspects of child development, parenting, and behavioral as well as learning issues for children. So I'll start with presenting my screen with you. So when we look at parenting in perspective, we see that in earlier times, the people used to live in large extended families or joint families. So many generations lived under the same roof. And hence, parenting was learned through observing each other within the family itself. As industrialization happened, families grew smaller and parents started working outside their homes. So the ancient wisdom was gradually lost. And hence, it was at that point in time when the concept of parenting came into being. A lot of books on how to parenting became very popular at that point in time. And a lot of questions arose about child development and parenting during current times and age. So through the course of our webinar today, we are going to try and address some of these questions frequently asked by parents. So we shall start with a small quiz, and I would request all of you to participate here in this quiz. So requesting you to give in your answers. Your individual answers will remain confidential, and the final poll results will be put up on screen, after which we shall discuss the answers. So over to the Dhawal Bhai and Darshini Ben.
Thank you. Dhaval, please have the poll on. We are having, for the audience, we are having 6 questions in this poll, requesting each one of you to give your answers. There are 3 answers, yes, no, or sometimes. So you'll have to read the question, choose the answer, and tick the appropriate one, select the appropriate one. Scroll down on the screen if you're using a laptop or a desktop. And if it's a phone, then you have to move on to your right. There would be an icon for next. You can click the next button and move to the next question and answer all the 6. And please don't forget to submit your quiz. This we'll be giving about 30 seconds for this. So we wait for some more time and hoping that all of you all will complete. Yeah, another 10 seconds to go and we stop the poll and we take the results. Okay, I request Dhaval Bhai to... I think, yeah, Dhaval Bhai, you can stop the poll, please.
I'll share the results.
Yes, Dhawal Bhai.
Can we have the results on screen?
Yes, thank you, Dhawal Bhai. Thank you, audience, for having participated. So we shall discuss the answers here. So an 8-year-old does not listen to her parents because she wants to trouble them. An 8-year-old does not listen to her parents because she wants to trouble them. Now we have 15% giving a yes, 54% saying no, and 31% saying sometimes. So let's understand why a child would not want to listen to her parents. So most often what happens is that the child is so engrossed or involved in playing or in watching a program of her choice that she is not aware that the parents are actually trying to talk to her. So it is not intentional, but she is just so engrossed that she doesn't know what is happening around her. Also, parents sometimes talk too much. Sorry, parents, to say this, but out of all good intentions, a lot of instructions are often given to the child. So we want the child to do all the tasks that are given, and with all good intentions, we keep giving instructions to the children. And what happens here is that the child gets completely closed up, and too many requests given to comply would then make the child stop taking any kind of initiative to do his work. Also, sometimes these requests which are given are actually not requests, but they turn into a coercive tone, or in a punishing manner it is told to them. So like, for example, if the child has just got up and the parent says, oh, you have just got up and now immediately you're on the phone, you have so much of homework to complete and you have a test coming up and you're not doing anything, you have not even had your breakfast, and so on and so forth, which is not really pleasant for the child to hear. So in all these ways, the child completely shuts off and does not comply. So apart from this, there are various other reasons as to why a child might not listen to her parents, and we shall address these questions as we move ahead with our webinar. So the next question, here comes the burning question. It is okay to occasionally spank your child. It is okay to occasionally spank or hit your child. Now, when we are spanking our children, we are devaluing ourselves. We are devaluing the children as well. So just think of it. When does a parent hit? A parent hits when he does not know of any other better way to handle a situation. So there goes one spank and then it does not work. So the next one is even harder. So then after that, the parent feels that it is not right. What have I done? Then there are feelings of guilt. Oh, I should not have hit my child. So this is what then the parent starts feeling. And there are the different children react to spanking in different ways. So there are some children who might start imitating the parent, because if the parent is hitting, they feel that it is an acceptable way of behaving. So they might start hitting their siblings or their peers, and they are even known to hit adults as well, right? Then there are some children who might bottle up all their feelings because they are scared to open up in front of their parents. So they think that the parents will then punish them if they tell the truth. So they might even lie to the parents. Yet there are some other children who might retaliate back, or they might just fight back or rebel against their parents. And so in all these ways, we are promoting anger in the child, we are promoting anger in the adult as well. And there is no learning actually happening at all. So in these ways, we can say that spanking does not help. Let's move on to the next one. Parents should not fight or argue in front of their children. Parents should not argue or fight in front of their children. Now, this is a very tricky question. It a lot depends upon the age of the child over here, because when there are very young children, they again learn to imitate the parents, and if they will learn to raise their voice and speak with their friends or speak with their family with a raised voice. Yet there are some small children, if they see that parents are fighting, they might develop a feeling of guilt, because they feel that the parents are fighting because of them. So they are the cause of their fights. So there is a deep feeling of guilt. Then yet, if children are slightly older, and if arguments between parents do happen in a respectable manner, which I may call a productive disagreement. So what happens here is that there is respect given to both the partners to talk and to listen. So both the partners are heard equally in a fair manner, and there is respect. So here the child learns that in a relationship there can be differences, and that these differences can be sorted out in an amicable way. And they also learn that they need not always agree to what other people are trying to say. Neither all other people might always agree to what they say. So these are important skills which they learn as they grow. Then, if a 6-year-old child has difficulty reading or writing, she will eventually overcome it on her own when she grows slightly older. A 6-year-old having difficulty, normally very often what happens is that there is some underlying difficulty which the child has. So here the child's difficulty needs to be addressed there and then, because the child is not purposely not performing, right? So what happens is that if we try to push the child by saying that you work hard, or you will be able to overcome it. Once the child gets a little more understanding, he will be able to overcome that difficulty. Then we are only magnifying the issue. We are only making it larger because there is added stress in the child's life. And as studies get more difficult, he'll find it more difficult to cope up with his behavioral issues. A 14-year-old cares more for friends than family. A 14-year-old cares more for friends than family. Now, when we talk about a 14-year-old, we are talking about a teen, and it is during this time that teen is developing. The peer or the friends say or do is very important for this child. They seek acceptance from their friends, and the rewards that they get from their friends become very important for them at this age. So you
I
might
think,
find
sorry,
my
Tejal, sorry to
child,
interrupt. I think there is a network issue at your end. Your voice is breaking at
okay,
times. You can continue. In case there is another disturbance, I'll interrupt you again. Please continue.
sure, okay. A 14-year-old, so what happens is that sometimes parents may feel that my child was earlier talking so much to me, and now suddenly she has started talking only to her friends, or is always on the phone, or is always in the room. So this is natural because the child is moving towards independence, and so the child wants that independence, and it is important for the family to, or the parents, to let go of the child to a certain extent, because of course we don't want our teen to be clinging on to us during this phase. So some amount of independence is important, but at the same time they do need the family and they do need the parents, so that support should be given to them. The last question. A child with average or above average IQ cannot have a learning difficulty or a learning disability. So in fact, it is an intelligent child who can have a learning disability, because learning disability is about processing issues. It is about processing language and processing numbers and executive function skills, but it is not about a lower IQ. So this statement is a myth. So thank you, audience, again for your participation, and we shall move on to the next slide. Now we shall look at how learning happens. We will see how children as well as teens learn. So children learn through looking, observation, imitation, modeling. So they observe and model people around them. They model what people do, how they do things, why they do what they do. They are always observing relationships around them. And then this is what they observe, and then they imitate these relationships. So they decide whom they would want to imitate. Then listening. So they are like a sponge. And you might say that a child is playing in the room, but even a small toddler would be very much alert as to what is happening at the other end of the room. If people are talking, he is very much aware as to what is happening there. So they learn a lot by listening. Language. They use their language to bring out language from adults. So what happens is that they start asking questions at a very early age, and questions such as what, where, who. These questions help them to understand factual aspects around the world. And then questions like how and why, which give them a deeper understanding of the world around them. right? So now we saw that children learn through looking, listening, and language. Now, whom do they learn all this from? They learn to observe those whom they are more attached to. They observe or they listen to people whom they feel are more reliable, whom they feel are more credible. They ask questions to people whom they are more attached to or with whom they have a greater bonding. So here is the power of the parent and the child relationship. So if there is a greater bonding with the child, then the child will learn from the parent. And that is obviously what we want our children to do. Then we look at play. Now, play is something that the child does when he is not trying to do anything. Play is fun for the child. There are various types of play, and research has shown that each kind of play has its own advantages. So we look at, for example, playing with toys. Playing with toys makes for a more plastic brain. We will discuss this a little later. Then playing with other children, rough and tumble play, helps the children to interact socially and to build social relationships. Exploratory play helps them to explore and learn about the world around them. Then you have pretend play. Pretend play, for example, they would take on the role of a teacher or a parent or maybe a dentist or a doctor. So they are understanding empathy. They learn empathy by taking roles of others because they understand their feelings. They understand the possibilities and what the feelings are of the other person. So these are various advantages of play. In addition to this, play also helps in building up emotional regulation, creativity, problem solving. They are able to solve unforeseen problems through play. So we have seen all the numerous advantages that play brings. Now, what is the role of parents over here? The role of parents in play is to provide for an environment or opportunities for unstructured play. Play which is flexible, unstructured, and spontaneous. Many a times we deprive the child of this learning through play because we create a very structured environment for the child. Right? Now we shall understand how teens learn. So teens learn through exploration, just like how children learn, but the difference lies in the fact that children learn in a more protected environment, whereas teens learn in a more independent environment. So we have seen that teens are seeking a social identity. So also they are trying to develop a career identity as well. So there are various skills that teens learn. For example, decision making, responsible problem solving, impulse control, social emotional relationships. And these are important skills which are learned through experience. So it is the role of the parents to provide for these opportunities for experience and maybe summer jobs or through whatever ways they can. Because what is happening today is that due to the kind of curriculum that we have and the focus on studies, the teens lose out on these practical experiences. So for instance, if we want our child to learn cricket, no amount of theory is going to help. It is only the child coming to the field that will help him to play cricket. So also for other fields as well. So for example, we can give the child opportunity for observing a scientist who is working in a lab or doing some research in the lab, or the child can observe or help an author to understand what goes into writing a book, or maybe observe or help an architect So right from the time when he visits the plot to making designs to constructing a building. So these kind of practical experiences are essential for teens, for them to develop important life skills. Now we shall go on to a small self-reflection activity. I would request you again to participate here and give in your answers. Your answers will remain confidential and then we shall move on. So over to Darshini Ben and Dhaval Bhai.
Dhaval, please start the poll. This time we are having 5 options. Option would be never, rarely, sometimes, often, and always. So you will get a little more time this time to answer the poll. There are 5 questions. The answers to which are never, rarely, sometimes, often, always. Please do tick one of the option, and then finally, after you complete all the 5 options, please submit your poll. So we wait for the audience. For the ones using your phones, you will have to see there is an icon on the right side which says next to go to the next question. So that's how you will have to go to the next question, complete all the 5 questions and press the submit button. That is when your poll would be submitted. We'll wait for another minute because I think few more of us are yet to complete. So another minute to go. I would request more number of people to participate. Please give your answers. Yeah, we are halfway through. Some more participants to participate, please. This time being a little tougher, 5 options to choose from. Yeah, another 10 seconds and then we stop the poll. Dhaval, we can stop the poll now. Yeah, I think we're done. Tejal Ben, you can take over, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, audience, for your participation. So this was just a small self-reflection activity for us to take some time out and understand our own interactions with our children. And we don't have any right or wrong answers here. And we shall just move on to the next screen to understand some more implications for parents and some additional tips for parents.
Tejal Ben, you want me to stop the results, right?
Yes, thank you, Dhaval Bhai.
Right.
So here are some practical tips for parents. A fundamental relationship of love, trust, and communication is an essential foundation to overcome any kind of obstacles that might come our way. So if there is an emotional connect with the child, then it gives confidence to the child and it builds an environment that is safe and secure and stable for the child to develop and grow in a healthy manner. Acceptance. We all need acceptance. so also our children. And acceptance means that we are tolerant, flexible, open-minded. It does not mean that you agree to whatever your child is saying. No. But it does mean that you value your child. It means that you believe that whatever your child is trying to do is right. So your child might come to you and say, I am sad, or I am angry, or I am scared. What is important is that you validate the feelings. Listen to your child when he is coming with something, because if you say, no, there is nothing to be scared, then the child closes off. And what happens is that over a period of time, if the child does not receive acceptance, or if he feels rejected, then it could lead to anxiety, depression, or other issues like drug addiction and other antisocial experiences. Then we move on to teach delayed gratification. So again, we have seen that parents are the best models for children. Children are observing and learning from parents through imitation. So parents are the best role models to teach the child patience, self-control, delayed gratification in various ways. For example, if you're standing in a queue, and the queue is long, so you will tell the child that the queue is long, but we will wait until we get our turn. So what happens is that the child internalizes this dialogue and he learns to be patient, right? So also, for example, if you are practicing self-control in food habits, maybe not eating fatty food over a period of time, so you are resisting your temptation. So talk to your child about it and show him how, demonstrate how you are resisting temptation. Or maybe delayed gratification, or if you're saving money for maybe a long-term goal, maybe to buy a property, or maybe for an overseas vacation. So involve your child by writing checks or by going to the bank, by talking to the child about this. Also, let them know that there always is a plan B if plan A doesn't work. So we need to teach them not to cry or to ask for things immediately. So this is how we are teaching delayed gratification. Then parents again are the best models to teach gratitude, teach thankfulness and appreciation. So for example, a morning prayer of gratitude once you wake up in the morning, or it could be a prayer before mealtime, or maybe a prayer before bedtime. So in the various ways, the parents are modeling gratitude. Provide opportunities to face challenges. Now, this is extremely important for the child. We need to let our children fall. We need to let them make mistakes or face disappointments. At each phase in the child's life, there are going to be new challenges. So the child needs to learn to face these challenges and not be coddled. We should not be overprotective, because then we are making the child weaker, and we are not helping the child to be resilient. Quality time with your child. This means that you are spending time with the child. You are in the moment with your child. So you're doing things that your child enjoys, and there is no multitasking at this point in time. So no screens, no TV, no messaging, no texting, reading, or anything at all at that point in time. And this helps to bond with our child. So when the children are very young, it could be things like a small peekaboo games, or reading books with the child, reading to them or with them, playing board games, card games, outdoor activities, so, or even mealtime conversations. So anything that the child likes to do. And these are ways in which we are developing or forming an important bond with the child. Now we shall look at goals of misbehavior. This means that we are looking at the reasons why a child would misbehave. So we shall look at each area, and I will give you examples for each. So attention seeking, for example, temper tantrums, wild outlandish behavior, purposely getting low grades, telling lies. So what does this tell you about your child? This tells you that your child is seeking attention or is used to getting attention from you at all times. So for example, if you have gone out, the child might just behave like a clown, or might just start screaming, or might just lie down on the floor, or may not greet people around him. So how do you handle this behavior? What is important is that we ignore behavior that is not acceptable and praise the child for the behavior that is more acceptable. So for example, if your child is, say, reading or studying by himself or eating by himself, praise him for what he is doing, praise him for the acceptable behavior. And also we can teach them how to seek attention. They do need attention. So how do they ask for that attention? Teach them to ask for a hug if they need a hug. Teach them to ask for your time if they need you for reading or for studying or for playing. Teach them how to ask for this in acceptable ways. Then we look at power struggles. For example, the child ignores commands or instructions, purposely does something when told not to, pushes limits, refuses to eat what is served, refuses to apologize. So what does this tell us about the child? This behavior tells us that the child gets satisfaction by being demanding. He wants everybody to do whatever he says, and he will also do whatever he wants and not listen to others. So how do we handle past struggles? This is best handled by shifting the power in the hands of the child. Now, I'll give you an example here. If the child is playing maybe with blocks and throwing the blocks around the room, and if there is a younger sibling in the room and is getting hurt, the parent can just tell the child that this is not acceptable and ask him to come up with options that he feels that, come up with options in so that the sibling does not get hurt. So here we are shifting the power in the hands of the child, and we are trusting the child to come up with ideas or options that would be more acceptable. So if the parent would say that you don't understand, you don't even know that your child, your brother is getting hurt, and you are not being considerate, and if he takes away the blocks and he says, I'm not going to give them back to you, then this would then lead to a power struggle and the child will not listen. So there are even various ways in which we can shift the power in the hands of the child. Give them choices. So for example, and very important is that we give them choices that are feasible, and the choices that we want the child to, like, we are ready, the choices which we would be ready to give the child. So for example, you could ask the child that would you like to go to the garden or to the beach? Or if you're planning a holiday, so would you like to go to a mountain holiday or a beach destination? So choices which are acceptable by you. Then you can give responsibilities to the child. So these responsibilities make the child feel important and powerful. And again, these responsibilities depend upon the child's age. So like, for instance, when the child is younger, you might want the child to water the plants or lay the table. Or there are, like, for slightly older children, they might be able to make inventories in the kitchen, or take care of the family, calculate family expenses, maybe weekly expenses, or take care of grandparents or pets in the house. So various forms of responsibilities given to the child. So we need to think of creative ways to tell no to the child and not get into a power struggle, because power struggles will only worsen the situation. Then we look at revenge seeking. For example, here the goal is to hurt others, to cause pain to others, damage something belonging to an authority figure, dismisses gifts, special treatment by parents. So here this behavior tells us that the child feels that the whole world is hostile towards them. So they feel that they are bad and they try to behave in a way that will prove this behavior. So so here the parents, they might even tell the parents, for example, they might even tell the parents, I hate you, right? So here the parents need to be very patient with the child and they need to engage in positive discipline. Poor school performance, lack of confidence, excessive timidness. Now, what does this tell you about the child? This tells you that the child feels that his expectations are not being met. So he might feel that he is not able to meet his own expectations, as well as he is not able to meet the expectations of those around him, right? So now how does the parent handle this? Parents can handle this by setting short-term goals for the child. For example, if the child is able to sit at a stretch, maybe for say 4 minutes, the next goal would be that he should be able to sit through for 5 minutes. Do not jump to bigger goals which the child finds difficult to achieve. So we are setting smaller achievable goals for the child and praising the child for whatever he is able to achieve. Also, it is important that parents do not compare their children with others. So then you might just say that, see, your friend is able to sit through for 10 minutes. You can't even sit for 4 minutes. When we say this, we are increasing the inadequacy in the child. We are making them feel lowered self-esteem and a lowered self-confidence, right? So very often this inadequacy is associated with an emotional issue. It could be an emotional disorder, or it could be ADHD or any other emotional issues as well. So it is important here that the parents get their child assessed so as to rule out this possibility. So now we shall look at some of the, okay, so the next slide here helps the parents to become alert about some of the difficulties that the child might have. Different areas where the child faces a problem or an issue. So I will give you examples of each of these areas as we move ahead. So the first one we look at is academic. Now, most often this is the area where the parents can immediately make out that the child has difficulty, because once the school gives the reports or the results of the exams or tests, they find that the grades are not up to the mark. So parents also might find that they see that the child has been able to give answers orally when he was studying for the exam, but while the exam actually happened, the papers were given blank. So these are some of the examples of academic issues that the child might face. Then we shall look at attention. So there is difficulty with sustained attention, concentration, and focus. Then moving on to sensory motor perception. Now, for example, here the child might just bang into furniture, keep moving around, or keep getting hurt, or banging into people, or while sitting at the table, the posture may not be right. So he might just droop completely while writing, might sleep and write, or the grip of the way he holds the pencil may be an atypical grip, or sometimes things keep falling from the table. So all these are sensory motor issues. Also, the child might find it difficult to do jigsaw puzzles. So perception issues are also affected. Then he might find it difficult to follow directions. So is confused between left and right, or is confused between letters. So so there are reversals of letters, reversals of numbers. So these are some examples of sensory motor and perception issues. Then social emotional issues. So here emotional regulation is difficult for the child. So for example, difficulty in social relationships. The child, he finds it difficult to relate to people at home, maybe with grandparents, parents, siblings, cousins. Social relationships in the school might be affected, so with teachers and with peers around them. Then emotional issues like, for example, excessive aggression, excessive anger, or timidity, or that the child might feel extremely shy or might start crying with little things. So these are some social emotional issues that we see in the child. Then there are other difficulties like listening and speaking. Now here the child finds it difficult to follow directions. They find it difficult to communicate, or they might find receptive and expressive language difficult. Then we move on to executive functions. Now, executive functions are extremely important skills, and these skills are related to attention. So what are executive function skills? These are skills which are needed for the child to complete important tasks. Like, for example, a child might find it difficult to start studying. So task initiation is difficult. They find it difficult to start doing important tasks. Also, task persistence. So once they have begun something, to complete doing it and to sit through it until they complete it, that is task persistence, right? So they find it difficult to sit through and complete their work at one go. Then they have difficulty with prioritization. So for example, if there are lots of things to be completed, then the child finds it difficult to prioritize what to start first and what order to go next. They have difficulties with organization and planning. For example, you might see their cupboards totally messed up. You have like all t-shirts, shirts, trousers, everything haywire, everything messed. And you might even find papers, books in between. So, or in the school bag or the school folders, these are also unorganized. Like you might find the math worksheet in the English folder or the English worksheet somewhere in the science folder. So things are unorganized. Then they have difficulty with the concept of time. So this means that they are not able to estimate, like if they have to go maybe to the doctor, so they cannot estimate how much time they will take to get ready or even to reach to the doctor's clinic. So estimation of time is affected. Then you have impulse control, which is extremely important. Now, when younger children, they might hit, so that is physical impulse control, or they might use their hands, so in various ways which are not acceptable. So physical impulse control. Then when they grow slightly older, it could be verbal impulse control. So they might just blurt out things without thinking, may act without thinking. So these are different examples of executive function skills which are affected, which a child might find difficult. So this helps us to understand different areas of difficulty that the child might face. And these areas are not mutually exclusive. So a child can have difficulty across a number of areas at the same time, right? Now, what does a parent do when they find that the child has difficulty? it is important that we inform the school or seek help from a professional. So just as we see that in a medical condition, like for the physical body, diagnosing a disease and timely treatment is extremely important for a good prognosis. So similarly here also, early intervention plays a very important role with children. And this can be seen when we understand the brains of the child. So and this is called the neuroplasticity of the brain. So the child's brain is very finely wired when the child is born. And there are a lot of connections and interconnections within the brain. And these connections are known as synapses. New synapses keep getting formed at a very early age. And this happens at a very rapid pace. So hence, it is very important that we use this early time for the child to learn, because learning is happening at a very rapid pace at this time. And so I would urge parents that if they do find any difficulties with the child, they should seek help immediately, because then this helps to minimize the symptoms of the child to a great extent. So now I shall, now I shall just give you a few examples of my experiences with the children and how early intervention has helped. So we will look at this previous slide again. So a child of age around 2.5 years was referred to me with a diagnosis of autism. Now this child did not show eye contact, which means that he did not look at anybody in the eye. He did not respond to his name, and he did not have language skills, so he would not speak. And he used to bang his head against the wall. Now, this was self-harming behavior, which was extremely serious and extremely scary. So this child was helped by giving activities for eye contact. Activities were given for expanding his language and expanding his verbal behavior. And over a period of time, his head banging reduced slowly and gradually, and right now has completely stopped. Now this child is currently studying in grade 2. So this is how early intervention plays a very important role. Again, I would like to give you one more example of a child who was referred for his behavior. Now, this child was a very cute, chubby child in the preschool years, and but he was a terror. He had chubby cheeks and cute little boy, but the friends around him were really scared because he used to hit, he used to bite, he used to pull their hair, so they would all run away from him. And this child he would also run away from the gates of the school. So the teachers also found it difficult to handle him. Now this was a preschool child. So he was helped by giving play activities for self-regulation, emotional regulation, activities for impulse control. And over a period of time, his hitting behavior reduced and is slowly reducing right now. Then one more typical example of an ADHD child that I would like to give you here. This child, he had various issues, but we will just discuss a couple of them right now. So this child having an ADHD was in grade 3, and he would move about in his room in the school. He would not be able to sit in the classroom, or he would rock his chair at all times, move around in the class, so disturb others around him, and his attention was as a result affected. And again, as a result, his academic skills were also affected. So he had poor grades. So this child was helped by providing a lot of brain gym and movement break activities. And these activities were provided during transition times, and they helped the child to improve his attention skills and helped him to perform better in the academic skills as well. So for academics, what is generally done, what we do is that we do not focus on the school syllabus per se, but we focus on fundamental literacy skills, which help the child to build a firm foundation, and slowly his academic grades also improved here. So yes, with this, I conclude with my presentation, and I'd like to end here by saying a few lines. So I would like to say, love and trust your children, enjoy every moment with your children, and empower them so that they are ready to face whatever they can see ahead of them. Thank you.
So much, Tejal Ben. It was such a wonderful session. So much we got to learn today. So many things we couldn't even think of. Maybe even as a parent myself, when I was thinking that when you're talking of the whole child and the different aspects, executive functions, the sensory skills, the various other factors, it really made me think that did we do the correct things when it was needed? But I think today most of us would have got a lot of clarity on how we need to identify if there is something going wrong in our behavior as well as that of the child. So thank you so much for such an informative session. It was really good to hear you out. And here I can say that parents are best role models, as you say so. The best inheritance a parent can give their children is their time each day. So with that, I take the questions, Tejal Ben. I'll take the first question from Archana has a question. Yeah, she says, you said that kids learn by observation. Today, all of us are on our phones, so naturally kids too do that. Can you suggest a way of being a little strict, especially with teenagers?
So for teens, screen time is very important in today's time and age. And yes, we do allow them to use their phones because it is productive in today's times, because they need to use it during school hours and for other things as well. So we can give them screen time would be like usually we can give them a schedule where they can use the screen time. But for teens, this becomes very difficult because so what can help here is that we connect with our children. And once we connect with them, they would be ready to spend more time with us in the family. So then they would gradually, automatically reduce their screen time and spend more time with the family members.
Yeah, so I think even we need to learn to be off screen for some time.
And yes, since they are role models, we need to be very alert about when we use our screen. So they are surely going to look at us and follow suit.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question is from Shobha Bhatia. You spoke about problems of kids at a young age. What about a child of 18 years?
So at 18 years, a normal child would, so when we look at the executive function skills of the child, we see that the child matures at around the age of 25. The executive functions, this is the prefrontal cortex, which is important for the executive function skills. And this matures at a later age. So at the age of 18, as a legal age, the child is considered an adult, but the maturity comes in at a later age.
Okay, thank you.
So because these are the skills, actually, these are the skills which are required for the child to become more independent. Right? So that happens only at the age of 25.
25. So there I was actually having a question that,
yeah,
I was actually having a question that at what age or stage would it be apt for parents to let go their children so that they become entirely independent? So
yes, so there is no fixed age. It depends from child to child also. And what happens is that when we give them freedom, when we give them independence, it comes with added responsibilities. So the parents are the best judge, and they can gauge as to what extent their own children are able to take up those responsibilities.
Thank you, Tejal Ved. I have another question. How do you teach academics to ADHD children? Because you spoke of ADHD, that is attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Yeah.
So how do you teach academics to these kind of children?
So we teach them through different skills. Like for example, we take reading, spelling skills, receptive, expressive language, concepts in maths and grammar, auditory, visual, perception skills. So here through these skills, we are helping the child to build a firm grounding. We are helping him to build his foundations so strong, and these foundations then help him across the different subject areas. So that is why we don't take the school curriculum per se. We don't teach them English, Hindi, math as the school curriculum goes, but we use these strategies, and these strategies help them to learn across different subject areas. And what also we do is that we use games, we use worksheets, interactive ways in which to teach them. So this helps to sustain their attention. And also here I would like to add that these activities, these strategies that we use are also helpful for children who are not ADHD. So the firm foundation that is built, like for example, like a child who finds that a non-reading child might start reading in 3 to 4 months very fluently when we use these strategies, even if he is not ADHD. So these activities help to strengthen their basic foundation.
Do these children need to go to different schools, or can they continue with their regular schooling and also have parallel therapies?
No, they can continue with their regular schooling, and in fact it is encouraged, inclusive schooling is encouraged, and they can then continue with parallel therapies as and when required.
Thank you, Tejal Ved. The next question is, will my child have a competitive edge if I enroll her in classes?
Very apt in today's times. So yes, being enrolling our child is very important at this time and age. We want our children to learn skills, different activities, and different like skating, music, swimming, and we want them to be competitive in all ways. Yes, but what is important is that we strike a balance. We need to give them time for unstructured play. That is what we discussed earlier. So we need to give them this unstructured time and not deprive them of this unstructured time. So because if we overburden the child, then this kind of the advantages that we would otherwise get from unstructured time would be lost. And also I would like to add over here that we should allow the child to experience boredom. Let him come up with ideas, brainstorm, come up with a first aid kit, like a boredom kit where, what he would do when he is feeling bored. So parents need not consider themselves as responsible for their boredom, because boredom, when they are bored, they start becoming creative and they will get their own ideas as to what they can do. So we should definitely not substitute screen time for boredom. So we can give them screen time as a separate time when you want to, but do not substitute it with boredom. So this is very important.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. A question from Deepak Asher. In Chanakya Niti, it is said that after 16, you should treat the child as a friend. Your comments on this?
Yes. So your child is your friend. Yes, you are interacting with the child. You want your child to bond with you, to play with you. So in all these ways, you are a friend to your child. You want to connect with them, but your role as a parent still remains as a parent when required. So the child feels secure when there are rules, expectations set for the child. So the parent is both a parent is both a friend and a parent to the child.
Yeah, we shouldn't leave being parents, I guess. Okay. Question from Kalpesh by Sampat. For college going kids, there is a lot of peer pressure and they think parents are always wrong. Your thoughts on this?
So this is very true, and the best thing is that we talk to our teens about this. So we need to connect with them. We need to bring these out. They feel that, what they feel about the current generation. They need to discuss that with them, so it will be clearer for them too.
Here I can ask, is the current generation overindulged? Will this have negative side effects on our children?
Yes, our current generation has a lot of privileges, I would say. They have a lot of comforts. They have a lot of facilities which during our times we did not have. And maybe I would call the current generation as a no generation. And our generation, we used to comply. We were the yes generation, and they are getting so many facilities. And what is important here is that yes, we do want to give them the best, and we are right by giving them the best that we can give, but they should not get over dependent on these facilities or over dependent on these privileges, because we want them to be emotionally strong. So over dependence would then make them make them weaker. We need them to adapt. We need them to be more flexible to different people around them, to different situations around them. So this flexibility and adaptability is important for their overall well-being. So yes, we can provide with all the facilities, but at the same time, this needs to be taken care of. So we demonstrate that we are, our sense of purpose. We demonstrate that because they again are modeling us. So we can demonstrate that we are chasing purpose and we are not chasing money. So if they get the right model to imitate, then we are on the right.
So our actions speak louder than words. So I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Ma'am, Tejal Ved, I have a question. Children are exposed to a lot of vulgarity, nudity, and filthy language today, thanks to OTT and internet. That poses two big issues amongst many others. How do you put across to the child that this kind of language and behaviors which they see on screen is more the exception than the rule? This is the first question I have. Second is, in light of the exposure in the sexual content, what would be the right approach to educate the child about sex? So first is, how do you put across to the child that this kind of language and behaviors which they see is more an exception than a rule?
So yes, so here if we have a connect with a child, then the best way would be to discuss with the child. A one-way communication would not help, because at the age of teens, they do not want anybody preaching them, and it doesn't work. They don't want suggestions and comments from us. It doesn't really work with them. So once we build a connect with them, then a two-way discussion helps. So my my favorite way of starting a discussion would be through maybe something in the social media or some Netflix series that they like to see. So those can be starting points of discussion or starting points of conversation with them. Could you repeat your second question on
The second one was, I was saying, in light of the exposure in the sexual context, what would be the right approach to educate the child about sex?
Okay, so sex education is actually a really vast topic, but in a nutshell, I could say that sex education starts when the child is as young as a toddler, when he starts exploring his own body. They start understanding that a girl's body and a boy's body is different, and there is where actually the sex education starts for the child. So a lot depends on how the parent reacts to the child, if they are comfortable or not. If these issues are taken as a hush hush topic, or if it is a taboo, then the child will not feel comfortable to then later as he grows, and when he has more questions, then he will not be comfortable to talk to you about these areas. So if the comfort level of the parent plays a role here, and if they are not comfortable, then they will seek answers outside.
Yeah, very true, very true. I have another question, Tejal Ved. Many a times kids ask certain questions which are beyond their age and understanding. How does one handle this situation? Many a times kids ask certain questions which are beyond their age and understanding.
So you could then tell them,
I think there is an internet issue. There is, Tejal Ved, we've lost you. Are you there?
yes, I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah. You can continue, Tejal Ved.
Yeah. So it is important that the children keep continuing asking questions to you. We don't want to discourage questioning. So that is important. So you tell the child that it's good that you have asked this question, but I would answer it at a relevant time, or maybe answer it appropriate to whatever the child's understanding is at that point in time, and then say that in detail you would answer that question a little later when it is appropriate.
Right. Thank you. We take one last question. I think parenting, does it ever end? Or does it just reinvent itself as grandparenting with a different skill set? That's the last question for the day.
Parenting, once you're a parent, you're always a parent. So, and I would say that the joys of parenting only multiply as you're a grandparent, and I can see that in all the grandparents in my family. So the glow in the eyes of all the grandparents can be just the answer to this.
So it continues.
Yes, it continues.
With this, we come to the end of the session. Thank you so much, Tejal Ved. It was wonderful talking to you. Very nice. So much we learned from you today. So much to take home. So much to remember that, you know, we have to teach so many things to our children in their early childhood. Identify issues in early childhood. Accept what they are. Try to rectify those issues so that it helps the child to grow. Teach delayed gratification, gratitude. Teach children to ask or shift power into their hands. So many things to take away. Provide for opportunities. Parents to provide for unstructured play. Trust your own instincts and work the best. So I think much more, you know. So thank you so much, Tejal Ved. It was wonderful talking to you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for the audience today, we'd like to share that it is one of our team members, Dhaval Bhatia's birthday, and we would all like to wish him today. Dhaval Bhai, please come on screen. Yeah, that is Dhaval Bhai with his little toddler, Vansh. So, Dhaval Bhai, a very happy birthday on behalf of Team Drshtikon and all our audience present today. Hope you have a wonderful year ahead. Hi, Vansh. Hi. And Vansh is a toddler who's a partner in crime with his dad. Both of them twin together, dance together, play Garba Dandiya together, do everything together. In fact, I can notice that both of them are wearing the same clothing too. So the Mickey Mouse. So congratulations and all the best to Dhaval Bhai. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
And, on behalf of Team Drshtikon, Megha Asher and Archana Sampat, I would like to close for the day. And we would be announcing or sending mail regarding our next session. It is a Friendship Day today. Wishing each one of you all a happy Friendship Day. Wishing everyone happy parenting and a happy weekend. Thank you.